The ship's horn fades behind you, swallowed by the fog. Your boots hit the dock, and for a moment, you expect applause. A welcome. A thank you. Instead, you're greeted by something colder than the sea air, silence and bills. You survived the war. You did what they told you was right. You followed orders, took risks, watched friends vanish into smoke and mud. You come back thinking the worst is over. Then you open the first envelope. Rent past due. Then another. Doctor's note for your mother. Urgent treatment recommended. Then another. Your paycheck arrives and dies on the same day. It breaks apart on contact with reality. Food, medicine, back rent, the coat your mother needs to keep from coughing all night. Money doesn't even feel like money. It's just a temporary permission slip to not be thrown out this month. You walk through the port city, streets slick with mist and diesel, and you start to see a different kind of war. Not with guns, with numbers, with signatures, with people who never get their hands dirty, but somehow always come out clean. That's when you hear his name in whispers. The Scrap King. In the newspaper, he's a hero. Donates to churches, sponsors veterans' dinners, smiles wide for photographs. But on the docks, in the taverns, in the kitchen where your mother counts pills, the stories are different. You hear about trucks that arrive empty and leave heavy. Scales that always misread in the same direction. Workers who disappear after asking the wrong question. A ledger no one is allowed to see. Soon, you'll be standing in front of his scrapyard gates, just like Miguel did. Needing money, needing a chance, needing anything. And you'll have to choose, stay quiet and survive a little longer, or open your mouth and risk losing the only income you've got. Before you step through those gates, pause for a second. Have you ever felt like your money just disappears, no matter how hard you work? If this already sounds a bit too familiar, keep listening. Because by the end of Miguel's story, you won't just understand where your money really goes. You'll know exactly how to take it back. You stand on the deck of the ship, the sea air cold against your face, and for a second, there is silence. No explosions, no sirens, no orders barked over your head. Just the slow, stubborn rhythm of the waves. You survived. That word feels heavy, almost suspicious. You run your hand over the rail, as if to confirm the wood is real, the world is solid, that you're truly leaving the battlefield behind. You imagine what waits for you. A warm meal, a real bed, maybe even a chance to breathe without counting seconds between blasts. But somewhere, behind that hope, another thought lurks. What now? The harbor appears through a veil of fog, like the city is unsure if it should show itself to you. As the ship approaches, you notice buildings that look tired, streets that look thinner, clothes hanging from windows like faded flags of surrender. The war might be over on paper, but it's written on every wall. You're Miguel now. Your boots hit the dock. The boards creak, just like your knees. Men shuffle past with sacks on their backs. Women with hollow eyes wait near a ration line that wraps around the block. Children chase each other barefoot, laughing with that sharp, desperate energy kids have when they don't yet understand why there's no food on the table. You smell salt, oil, and underneath it all, rust. Metal. You follow the sound of banging and grinding to the edge of the port, where a massive scrapyard rises like a twisted monument. Mountains of crushed cars, broken machines, twisted beams. Metal claws swing overhead, devouring what's left of yesterday's world to sell it as tomorrow's profit. Someone tells you the name that moves everything here, the name people only whisper. The Scrap King. A generous donor at church. A smiling face in the newspaper. Handshakes with politicians. Free soup in winters, so cold the bones ache. You adjust the strap on your worn bag. Your pockets are almost empty, and so is your future. Work is work, and his yard is hiring. You survived the war. Or did you just walk into another battlefield you can't see yet? Have you ever felt that, like peace was promised, but the struggle only changed its uniform? If this hits close to home, stay with me. And if you want to follow this journey all the way to the end, consider subscribing so you don't miss the next chapter. You wake up before the siren. The city is still gray, the kind of gray that doesn't belong to any hour of the clock. Your mother's cough echoes from the next room, thin and dry. You stare at the ceiling for a second longer, as if a number might appear there, one that actually closes your bills instead of opening new ones. Rent due, medicine low, work in 2 hours. You did everything right, remember? That's what they said at the enlistment office. And that's what they said when you came back. You'll find a way, Miguel. You're strong. You survive. As if survival were a currency you could hand to the landlord. You dress in silence and step into the street. The fog rolls in from the port, heavy and damp, covering the cracks in the sidewalk and the cracks in people's faces. Men and women shuffle toward factories, warehouses, docks. Everyone moving, no one getting ahead. At the corner cafe, you see it again, the newspaper headline about the city's great benefactor. The photo shows him smiling beside a priest and a politician, hand on a stack of donated blankets. The scrap king brings hope. The caption says, "You know his yard. You know his trucks. You know hope doesn't pay by the hour." On your way to work, you pass Mrs. Alvarez at her window, watering plants in chipped cups because flower pots are a luxury now. She smiles at you. The same smile she offers the ration line when the delivery comes up short. "They miscounted again," she always says, as if it were an accident. But you've started to see things differently. Those miscounts, those errors, those lost shipments. Someone is always counting correctly, just not for you. As you walk, you can't help wondering, in your own life, where are the quiet miscounts happening? Not in tons of metal, but in small leaks, fees, temporary debts, subscriptions you forgot existed. How much of your paycheck disappears before you even touch it? Have you ever tried tracing every dollar, every cent, just once, to see where it truly goes? If this question is tugging at something inside you, stay with me. As Miguel's story deepens, you're going to see exactly how hidden profit works and how to stop it from working against you. You're halfway through your shift when you notice it. The rhythm of the scrapyard is almost hypnotic by now. Metal clanging, forklifts beeping, engines coughing black smoke into the gray afternoon. You move on instinct, sort, lift, stack, repeat. It's the kind of work that erases thought. Maybe that's the point. But today, your mind doesn't stay quiet. You're watching a truck roll onto the scale. Old pipes, twisted rebar, rusted beams piled high. The driver leans out, hands the foreman some papers, and the needle on the scale trembles, then settles on a number that doesn't match the weight you feel in your bones. You've carried enough scrap to know what a ton feels like in your spine. The foreman scribbles something on a clipboard. The driver gives a small nod that looks too practiced. The truck leaves lighter on paper than it does in reality. You tell yourself you're imagining things. Until it happens again. A different truck, different driver. Same strange dance. The scale misreads. The ledger notes something else, and somehow, no one acts surprised. The scrap king's office window overlooks everything, but his curtain never moves. You remember your mother, coughing over the stove this morning, stretching soup with more water because rations are tight. You remember the notice on your door about late rent, the one you folded and slid under the mattress as if hiding paper could hide reality. And then you see it. Every missing kilo of metal doesn't just vanish. It's stolen from the city's shared pile, from the roads that won't be repaired, from the stoves that won't be filled, from the medicine that won't be bought. From people like you. You realize how it works in your own life, too. Money that disappears on fees you never questioned. Bills you pay without checking the details. Subscriptions you forgot you had. Loans whose interest you don't dare calculate. Not stolen in the dark by a stranger, but leaked, slowly, because no one ever showed you the ledger. You feel a quiet anger rise, cold, not loud. If you don't control your own numbers, someone else will. Have you ever felt that, too? That your money is slipping away but you can't quite see where? If this story is starting to mirror your own, stick with it. In the next chapters, you'll not only walk deeper into Miguel's world, you'll learn how to open your own secret ledger and finally see where your money is truly going. You stop going straight home after work. Instead, you walk. No destination. Just streets you thought you knew, now looking thinner. A grocery store with less on the shelves. A neighbor's curtains gone, probably sold. Kids skipping rope with a frayed cable instead of a proper rope. You start to notice patterns, the same way you notice them in the yard. The butcher who rounds up every time. The landlord who forgets to count the money you already paid. The bank app that hides the real damage until everything's already gone. At first, you tell yourself it's just how things are. Like ration cards, like long lines, like cold beds. Normal. But once you've seen the scrap king's secret ledger, normal doesn't sit right anymore. One night, as you cross the harbor, you pause by the old weighing station. Rusted out of use. Miguel once told you a story right there, under the flickering lamp. Scales, he said, are never neutral. Someone always decides what counts. Back then, you thought he meant metal. Now, you realize he meant everything. The hours you work that never reach your pocket. The fees so small you accept them. The favors you give away for free while others bill for breathing. You think of Miguel again, counting crates and lies, knowing that every missing ton meant another empty pot in his neighborhood. He didn't control the war. He didn't control the market. But he could control one thing, whether the numbers stayed in the dark. And that's where your reflection sharpens. What if the missing part of your life isn't just bad luck or not trying hard enough, but unmeasured leaks, quiet manipulations, and stories you've been told about what you deserve? You reach home and look at your own ledger, scattered bills, half-opened emails, a bank account you avoid checking until the last second. How much of your money's journey do you actually see? If you're honest, how often do you really weigh your life instead of guessing by feeling? If this is hitting close to home, stay with this story. In the next step, you'll start turning your fog into numbers you can finally see and control. You're at the yard before sunrise, boots damp with fog, fingers numb, body heavy from too little sleep. The smell of rust and diesel crawls into your lungs. Another day trading your time, your spine, your health, for just enough to stay behind on the bills. You watch the trucks line up like obedient soldiers. On paper, they carry nothing special, worn pipes, twisted beams, broken machines. But you've been here long enough now to recognize patterns. The same truck that left almost empty yesterday returns today, so loaded the tires bend, yet the manifest still says light load. The scale, that cold metal judge, always seems to favor the scrap king. A few kilos lost here, a few more there. The numbers blink on the display, then get rewritten in the ledger with a little smile from the foreman. You see it. Money isn't burned, destroyed, or lost. It's diverted. It slips through cracks no one talks about. Unregistered crates appear at night. They're logged in a second notebook, never meant for audits, never meant for inspectors. You see envelopes being passed, jokes whispered, hands clapped on shoulders. The neighbor's metal, the country's reserves, the collective effort, all quietly turned into private gain. And you understand something that hurts more than your blisters. Everyone in your neighborhood is tightening their belt so the scrap king can loosen his. While your mother cuts her pills in half to make them last, someone else adds a new layer of gold to his watch. You feel the anger, but beneath it, something sharper, clarity. If this is how wealth is built in the shadows, what about your own life? Where are your invisible leaks? The small subscriptions you forgot, the bank fees you never read, the interest that compounds quietly, but against you. You start to wonder, if you could audit your own financial scrapyard, what would you find? Have you ever had that uncomfortable moment when you checked your account and thought, where did it all go? If this is starting to feel a little too familiar, keep following Miguel's steps. In the next part, you'll see how his choices in this fog of numbers become a map you can use to reclaim your own. You're still holding the notebook when Miguel's mother falls asleep. The house is quiet, except for the slow rasp of her breathing and the ticking of the clock on the wall. On the table, the hospital bills, the overdue rent notice, a half-finished cup of coffee that's gone cold. Miguel's handwriting stares back at you from the open page. Every coin has a story. The question is, who's writing it? You look around. Nothing here looks corrupt. Just like your life doesn't look like a battlefield from the outside. It's only when you start tracing the numbers that the war lines appear. Miguel did it with ships, crates, and steel. You'll do it with paychecks, bills, and the quiet places where your money vanishes without raising its voice. You turn to a new page in the notebook and, almost without thinking, begin to copy what Miguel started. 1. What comes in? Every source. Every payment. No, I think it's about only what actually hits your account. 2. What goes out? Not in your head. On paper. Fixed bills, random snacks, subscriptions you forgot, little treats that add up to big leaks. 3. What's missing? The gap between what you earn and what you can clearly see. That's your invisible scrapyard. That's your scrap king. It feels simple. Too simple. But that's how the scrap king stayed rich, by hiding simple theft in plain sight. And slowly, you realize, if you don't write your money story, someone else will. The bank, the company, the algorithm, the landlord. Their records. Their rules. You take a breath. You survived a lot to get here. A crisis, a layoff, a breakup, a war of your own. You don't have to win everything tonight. You just have to do what Miguel did on that first foggy morning. Notice. Notice where your effort goes. Notice where the numbers don't match. Notice who profits from your silence. Then a quieter question rises. What would change in your life if, for the next 30 days, you wrote every single coin story? If this hits close to home, stay with me. In the final part, we'll turn Miguel's notebook into your step-by-step plan, so you can stop feeding someone else's ledger and start building your own. You stand alone at the edge of the docks. The sirens have stopped. The cranes are quiet. The scrapyard is just a dark shape against the fog, and Miguel's story lingers like the smell of iron and rain. You've seen what he saw. How numbers can lie without ever speaking. How a man with a clean suit and a perfect smile can turn whole neighborhoods into fuel for his private furnace. How a single missing ton is never just a ton. It's medicine not bought, food not served, futures quietly erased. And now, you can't unsee it. Because deep down, you know this isn't just about Miguel. It's about you, your life, your money, your own invisible scrap kings. They may not wear gloves and walk among piles of metal. They wear logos, contracts, fees you agreed to, interest rates that creep like rust, subscriptions you forgot about, debts no one ever taught you to navigate. But the mechanism is the same. If you don't control the records, someone else writes your story. Miguel had to choose, stay silent and survive a little longer, or speak up and change the course of his life. You face a different kind of battlefield, but the choice rhymes with his. Keep walking blind, hoping one day things will get better on their own. Or pick up the ledger of your own life, page by page, and reclaim what's yours. That's where we're heading next. From here, we're leaving the foggy port and stepping into your reality. What you earn, what you owe, what you leak without noticing, and how to finally build a safety cushion that doesn't vanish with the next emergency. No magic, no fairy tale, just clear steps, tools, and a way to see what was always hidden in plain sight. If Miguel's fight hit something inside you, stay with me. Would you like to see, line by line, where your money actually goes, and how to stop feeding your own scrap kings? If the answer is yes, hit like so this story reaches more people who need it. Drop a "I'm in" the comments, and make sure you're subscribed. Because the next chapter is no longer Miguel's. It's yours.